The SAICA Biz Impact Podcast is proudly brought to you by SAICA, committed to growing impactful businesses in collaboration with our SAICA accredited practitioners. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and visit our website for more valuable resources.
Welcome to the SAICA Biz Impact Podcast. My name is Uluncedo Mthwendwe. I will be your host today as we continue with our series. And as you are fully aware, what is currently happening, in the global world, with the trade shifts, with the tariffs, with the VATs being reversed throughout. There's a lot that is currently happening. With IMF really revising our economic growth as a country from 1.8% to 1%. One has to ask the questions in terms of where are we as a country? What are some of the challenges that we are facing? And what are the solutions that we have to bring on board to ensure that we continue to grow as a country? And to really answer some of those questions, especially around entrepreneurship, I am joined, by the way, not for the first time around, but this is her second time around joining us at the studio. I am joined by Annie McWalter, who is the CEO of the SAICA Enterprise Development and the Hope Factory. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you very much.
Great for coming through again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, Annie, she is the CEO of the SAICA Enterprise and Development Program. And because of the impact and the role that they play in the country, they work with number of SMEs across the country and work with different companies that are really running the enterprise and supply development programs. She's the right person to really come and lay a foundation and lay a direction in terms of where we're headed. What are the insights that are coming out from your day-to-day normal businesses that we are supporting thereof? So, Annie, in terms of one, look, as I said, with the foundation, with where we are as a country, we need more solutions going forward. And the organization that you are leading plays an important role around that. If you can just share just the background in terms of what is the SAICA ED and the Hope Factory about for someone who doesn't know.
Okay, with pleasure. So the Hope Factory came first. We actually celebrated our 20th year anniversary last year.
Okay.
And so
you're an adult now.
Yeah, we're an adult. Yeah. And the Hope Factory was started with the intent of getting South Africans working and really creating skills for making a livelihood. Yeah. So it's had a number of iterations through the years, but I think at the heart of it, we really promote entrepreneurial skills for helping people to move forward in terms of that. So we work a lot with startup businesses, more informal businesses, businesses below $1 million annual turnover.
Okay.
And we're very strong on the coaching, mentoring, and as well as the entrepreneurial skills holistically with the Hope Factory. And then SAICA Enterprise Development, it's been going since 2018. And what we did there is that we wanted to actually start to work with a bit bigger businesses than the Hope Factory businesses and introduce them into corporate supply chains. So we run enterprise and supply development programs for a number of corporate clients and all around the country. We checked the last time is that we're pretty much in every province. I think Free State, we still need to get some projects in the Free State. But yeah, last year we ran 28 programs all around the country. And in total we had 755 entrepreneurs, SMEs and entrepreneurs on our programs combined with the Hope Factory and SAICA ED.
That's fantastic.
Essentially in SAICA ED, we really partner with the small accounting practices, often SAICA members who are themselves running accounting practices, and we like to focus on financial excellence. So that gives you a snapshot in terms of what we do.
Just taking me through the past 21 years. What are some of the key insights or some of the key learnings that you have picked up around the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa, especially if you're working now with most businesses that are below a turnover of 1 million rand?
Yes, on the Hope Factory side, yeah. Yeah, I think what we have seen over the years is that people can change their lives by becoming economically active, and that they are able to actually escape poverty as a result of having goals, financial goals. The biggest challenge in those types of businesses is usually the separation of personal and business finances, separating them out, that you're actually creating an entity that's outside of, you and your household. And so it's really important kind of looking at becoming formalized. I think the biggest challenge there is training people or helping them to see why they should actually register, while they should become formalized. And particularly if they want to get into business to business, that they need to actually have things like tax clearance certificates, that they need to be paying SARS, that SARS is not your enemy. I think it is a bit of a tricky part for a small business, because they're afraid of SARS. SARS will take the money out of their accounts, when they need to pay tax. But I think there's the big kind of education around, actually formalizing, and that you need to put processes in place. You need to get systems in place. And if you're wanting to grow into something that's bigger than 1 million, you will need to formalize.
How do you, I fully agree with your sentiments. We deal with SMEs as well on day-to-day basis. And the formalization, therefore, usually comes with administration. Administration cost. All of a sudden, a person is just a plumber, or someone is he's a barber, he's got his own barber shop, right? Now, all of a sudden, you tell them that you need an accountant who will do your VAT returns every 2 months. You need a lawyer, you need a marketer, and all of that. How can we come up with solutions that make it easier, or that it makes sense for, I would say, your sole traders to move away from being just a normal sole trader and become a solid, formalized business that is ready for growth?
I think that is the trick around that, and it's often said, but it is from that book, The E-Myth, is that you start working on your business, not in your business. So often that is the switch that needs to be made. It's that you're no longer like working as the sole person, that you start to put something in place where you've got other people that are assisting you. Maybe initially it will be in a part-time basis, but you need to actually start to think about every area of your business and put something in place. As you say, having a marketing strategy, having somebody that is helping you to post regularly on your socials, having a bit of a strategy around your marketing. You need to get to the place where you're actually looking at every area of your business and you're putting something in place, and it's that shift over from you working in your business to you working on your business and putting systems and processes in place. And what I always like to say is that what's totally crucial for entrepreneurship is like a 3-legged stool. Is you have to be excellent in your product or your service. You have to be, cut above the rest. You're competitive in that way. Secondly, you have to be able to sell. If you can't sell, you won't have a business. You have to always be able to sell. Closing deals, getting new contracts, selling, always having a pipeline, working on that pipeline. So that's the second part. But the third part is just as important in terms of the accounting, the figures, the ins and the outs of the business. You costing in all of your input costs, your petrol, your time, all of those things. But again, it's not like you're doing your personal costs there. It's the business costs. So You need to get to the point where you actually want to start paying yourself a salary, you know. And it is important to have that accounting background and to not be afraid of the numbers, but to have a handle on the numbers. And that's exactly where our small accounting practices, SAICA small accounting practices, are so valuable, because they start to teach our entrepreneurs what is the numbers telling them, what's the inputs, the outputs, what are your costing, your budgeting, you're looking at your bottom line, you know, and cash flow management, which is absolutely crucial. So
with your approach, the SAICA ED and the Hub Factory, there's a blend of, there's a blend of mentorship that you are applying throughout your beneficiaries.
Correct,
and working around the mindset around that. And most of the SMEs, as you've said, they are informal. And one person once said,
well, that's on the Hope Factory side. The SAICA ED, they are formal and they are above.
Yes, right. So how do you then really differentiate yourself with all of these support services that you are providing? And especially currently in South Africa, there's so many offerings that are out there for SMEs. But from your side, how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I think we're less on the formal, you have to go through a training program or incubation program. We're more focusing on the acceleration side. And we're very much around actual providing coaching from qualified CAs or volunteers to SAICA for some of our programs. And some of our programs, we pay the small accounting practices for their coaching time. So we find that it's more valuable for an entrepreneur to come through a year program of coaching and also looking at their financial excellence. We do a financial diagnosis right at the beginning of the program. And that's really helpful. It's like when you go to a doctor for like a full-on checkup. And they take everything, and you take bloods, and you get uncomfortable. You let them have a look at what's going on.
You get shocked with the results when they come after that.
The results, you're like, oh, okay, my cholesterol's too high. You know, I'm talking like now. Some of us are a bit older these days, so you know we're looking at all these different things, and they are indicators of your health, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we are putting in place in terms of having small accounting practices assist us with working with financial excellence in small businesses. Is that they do that financial diagnosis, they do the checks and balances, and then they say, look, you know, there's something here that you need to improve on. You need to, you know, put better processes in place for your financials. You need to have a separation of duties. You need to be, you're missing this in terms of your compliance. You know, those kinds of things, those important things that actually, for me, are essential for your health, your financial health.
The foundation.
It's the foundation, So, we like to say that you're going to have to be prepared to just show us everything. And then let the small accounting practice walk you through the journey. But I think where we also like to differentiate is that we're not coming at this from an audit perspective. That's not our purpose here. We're coming at it from a developmental perspective. So we need to see where you're at so that we can see where you can go. And we really have that as part of all of our programs. Is part and parcel, the entrepreneur has to set their goals for their growth and where they want to be and what they want to do. I think where we differentiate from all the other enterprise and supply development programs really is our relationship with SAICA. We are entities that belong to SAICA, to the chartered accountancy profession. And I think that distinguishes us where we have that professionalism. We have the best of the best that are giving you that kind of guidance, coaching, support.
In terms of the entrepreneurs that you've worked with for the past 21 years from the Hope side, you know, with the ED as well, past 7 years already. What are some of the key traits that you have picked up that differentiate the good companies to great companies?
I'd like to say that, interesting enough, it's not always like the financial skills, the business skills.
Yes.
I would say that it's actually the intangibles and the softenings of the leadership. So leadership for me has always been what differentiates. And I really do see that those that actually have that incredible resilience, that there's a humility in their leadership, that they are constantly learning, that they're constantly growing, and, that they don't necessarily not fail. Sometimes they fail in certain things, but they are failing forward. They are learning from their mistakes. They're agile. I think resilience is a very, very key acumen that is needed for entrepreneurship. You will go through the business cycle. There will be good years. You're flying. You're winning the awards. You're getting the contracts. But then there'll be the tough years, like we saw with COVID. And you see that kind of perseverance. Entrepreneurship is a difficult journey, and I think it's to actually recognize that, as soon as you recognize that, then you actually can do something with it. But it isn't for everybody. And we're still looking for it. We still I think we possibly going to come close, but there's some entrepreneurs that have been through our programs that will one day be a JSE listed company, and that's still our goal, to see that. But we've seen some businesses, particularly when they get their governance in order, when they get their finances in order, and they get their leadership structures in order, they really are flying, and that's wonderful to see.
Take me through your thoughts around. You mentioned that your goal is to at least have one entity that you say, we met this entrepreneur at this stage.
Yes.
Now he has gone to list.
Yes.
It's worth over 100 million or billions of.
Yes.
With the foundational support and the business development support.
Yes.
Now let's talk about funding, access to funding. What is your view around access to funding in South Africa? Is it something that is easily available, or else we're getting more business development support available? What's your take?
So my take is probably a slightly different one to the mainstream. I don't believe that funding is the fundamental problem. It is a big challenge for SMEs, there's no doubt. And I think what you're getting is you particularly have our financial institutions are some of the strongest in the world. It was built around resources early on in the days, and the banks were the only ones that actually made money during COVID. So that would say something to you. So funding through maybe your traditional banks is very difficult.
Because they're conservative in nature, correct?
Yes.
Risk management process to the
very conservative, and you can understand why they would be. But I do believe that if you've got the right market product, there will be, and also the right expertise, and the entrepreneur themselves. There will be, you will be able to access funding. I know that it is tricky, but I think what's preventing SMEs from getting funding is that they are not able to show the track record. And that comes back to the fundamentals of our financials and putting them in, proper formats, having a good track record for a number of years. And that's where we want to come in and help entrepreneurs to get that, so that they will be able to access the funding. We're thinking that that's the biggest challenge, is not actually that there's not a number, there's a lot of funding available, but the entrepreneurs are not in the right position to show that track record that they can access that funding. And that's the biggest issue.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a very important point, because it's not the first time, one is sharing those sentiments, that there is funding available in South Africa. However, it's either the entrepreneurs are not yet at the right stage to receive the funding. And fundamentally, as Annie is saying, the lack of track record. So one can't see how you have been operating for the past 5 years. All they see is what is current. When they try to connect the dots are nowhere to be. So it's very important to really, when you start from the very onset, you get it right. Because you're not going to need funding either now, but in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you will need funding, and someone is going to start to ask questions, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So funding isn't usually the biggest issue. You need to prove at a smaller scale your concept. And see that it's working, you know. For instance, we actually had a project where we had a company, for the enterprise development, want to provide interest-free loans. And we went back to some of the entrepreneurs that had been on our programs, but it was sad to see that when they were off our programs, they started doing things that, you know.
But what causes that? And because, you know, the first one as well to say that, sure, the 12 months, all report accordingly. But when you follow up 2 years down the line, the following of the ban, what causes that?
Maybe it's, and we have to also go back and say that, you know, have we done our job well? That they definitely understand why it's important to do this. But it is absolutely crucial. Do not go to your cheaper accountants. You know, and I think that's what happens, you know, is that people come onto our programs, they come and they use our small accounting practices, which are world-class standards. And then they decide, okay, I'm going to, you know, go back to my former accountant or people that are not actually doing it according to the standards that are required. I think it is just exactly that. The importance, the fundamentals of financial excellence just needs to come through for SMEs. Is don't start doing personal, like buying a house through your business, mixing personal and business kind of interaction, keeping the personal away from the business. You know, being wise with what you do in your business, you know, because I think that's exactly it. The numbers don't lie, right? So you need to actually show that you are doing the right business practices in terms of that. And I think that's maybe also why some entrepreneurs are a bit afraid of them, afraid of you know, doing the numbers correctly, because they are hiding certain things, and then unfortunately you are not making yourself investment worthy further along the line.
So your point is really hammering as well, just around financial literacy.
Correct.
I think it's at the center of what you've been sharing throughout. How do we make then financial education to be this attractive things for entrepreneurs rather than an afterthought that is seconded to an outside, an accountant? Okay, that's you. Me, I'm focusing on a product. How do we make that? How do we make financial literacy to be more sexier and more exciting? But these are numbers. It's not nice to look at numbers. That's what these guys will tell you.
At the end of the day, it all revolves around it. You know, there's old songs, money, 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 you know. Money makes the world go round. The thing is, as an entrepreneur, you can't outsource that. You have to be on top of that. And we see that often in our businesses, is they think, okay, I'm going to get an accountant so that I don't have to understand what's going on in my business from a business perspective, from a financial perspective. If you're an entrepreneur, that's that three-legged stool. If you don't understand what's going on, you will be duped, you'll be stolen from, you will not be able to speak in front of an investor, you will not be able to grow your business. You have to learn those things. It's basics. So what I would recommend is that you start even with your own personal financial literacy. There's so much available. Countless books, you know, of just financial literacy, how you run your household, how you run your personal finances, that you save, that you're not like having hectic amounts of credit and debt, right? Debt is not your friend. Being conservative in terms of the choices that you make, even the car that you drive, you know, that kind of thing is sticking within your means, cutting according to your means. So starting at home and starting personally is the first place to start. But then as a business, we need that. It's absolutely, it's like becoming healthy, and it's maybe like, is being healthy sexy? Well, no, it is.
It is. It's a big thing.
There is a big thing now. But we all know that being healthy actually takes a lot of work, right? We have to be active. We have to watch what we eat. You know, we have to do the things that make us healthy. So it's
the foundation of it all, basically.
Exactly. So financial literacy is exactly like that for business. It's becoming healthy. It's becoming so that you can be sustainable, that you can continue, that you.
Like that.
So you need to see it more like that. It's like you don't think twice, okay, I need to go to gym and I need to work out.
Yeah.
It's similar for your business. You need to actually keep on looking at your finances, giving you the information in terms of what's happening in your business.
Yeah.
And it's like that, you know, fitness test in a way for your business. So maybe to see it as that, not as this thing that I need to fear. You know, but it's how do I get healthy as a business?
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely essential. If you ignore that, you ignore it at your peril.
And it does catch up with you in the next 5 or 10 years or so. And you wish that I should have learned this a long time ago.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Then how do you scale up? Now let's talk about scaling up. We're hearing this term quite a lot.
Yeah.
Entities will say, I need funding, I want to scale up. I need funding, I want to scale up. And sometimes the scaling up, you can miss certain steps there and there.
Yes.
Then that growth or that scale becomes your downfall.
Correct.
From your experience and with some of the businesses that you've dealt with throughout these entities, what are some of the fundamentals that the business owners have to consider before embarking on that scaling up journey?
So first of all, I think you need to check that you already are coping with the amount of work that you have at the moment, the amount of contracts that you have. Do you have proper processes in place? Do you have that if one person's off sick, that there's someone else that can cover? Is your business so people dependent that, you know, if you had someone leave tomorrow, that your whole business falls apart, you know? Because you see that often with owners of businesses, you know, they start these beautiful businesses, but they all revolve around the owner. And then when the owner steps away, then that business falls apart. So again, it's working on your business. You need to have you have to have things in place, your processes in place, your HR processes in place, your actual operational processes in place. Again, these are all things, they're disciplines that are needed, things that are actually, you know, they're documented somewhere, that if you are able to pass it on to anyone new coming into the business, that they're not coming into this space. Because what you do when you scale is you actually multiply your problems. You've got a number of problems now.
I like where you're putting problems. It's not just all nice.
No,
You're having revenue up.
It's the problems of growth, right? You've heard of growing pains,
but
you'll get even more problems, and they'll be even on a bigger scale when you grow. So you need to be prepared for that, and you need to have contingencies for that. And you need to also have, like, you know, kind of risk mitigation in terms of having like a proper looking at your risks as a business. But the issue with scale is really just having that organization, the readiness to actually be able to, you know, kind of multiply. So it's not just one person doing this, it's actually multiple people doing this. Do you have a standard for that? You know, when are people hitting the mark, when they're not? Do you have operating procedures that are going to actually help you in this? And so it is important. And I think that's where, again, you can stand and sit with a really excellent CA who will help you also with that scaling. You know, you are going to require that. You're going to need to check what's going to happen with your numbers, because again, sometimes with growth, you get much bigger contracts, but what about the cash flow happening? You know, when is that money coming in? How long will it last you? So you need to really discuss this as well with somebody who will understand also the finances behind it. And then, you need to be ready for that space for growth. So it's a very exciting problem to have, but know that you are going to now be, you know, extending in terms of different areas. You will have to be ready for that extension and have the right procedures, the right processes, the right technology. All of that needs to be considered before you grow and scale.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Quick,
Yeah.
what's your take? With everything you've said, and I'm really trying to think about how does one become a successful entrepreneur, right? And with all of these steps, the
Yes.
dots that you're connecting,
Yes.
are entrepreneurs born or are entrepreneurs made? What's your take around that?
Well, I guess it's similar to that question of are leaders born or made? And a similar answer is that everyone can develop entrepreneurial skills.
Okay.
Not everyone is naturally inclined. They might be a little bit more, actually, you know what, just tell me what to do. I don't want to be the leader.
Yes.
And I don't want to be the one actually hitting all the flack and having all the responsibility.
Sure.
So some people might not want that level of responsibility, because entrepreneurship, it is fully your responsibility.
Yeah.
You need to realize that also, particularly when you build a business, it's like your employees are families that you are supporting here. So if your business goes down, you are actually letting a number of families down. It's not just you. So there's the thrill of that, like that you want to create something new. And I always liken it. I remember when my brother's company, their logo went on a building. And every time I saw this logo on the building, I would always just think, flip, that's amazing. And it's similar to having the Hope Factory logo and the SAICA ED logo.
Yes.
It actually is thrilling to create something and to have a logo and to have a brand. But it is a lot of work, and so it requires that tenacity and that also that ability to just keep on learning. You're going to fail sometimes, but you must fail quickly. You must learn quickly, particularly as an entrepreneur. You don't have the luxury of a big business taking a while before you learn. You have to learn quickly. If you see things are not working, you have to, kind of change things around. I think it's being prepared to fall flat on your face and get up quickly. That would be, for me, what is needed for entrepreneurship, to be a true entrepreneur, to be able to be resilient, to pick yourself up when things are going badly. And when things are going really well, don't get too comfortable. Prepare for when things are going to get bad again.
It's a cycle.
So it's a cycle. Yeah. So for me, entrepreneurship is about resilience, about just resolute learning, like constant learning. And it's that constant stress of, I can never ever rest. I always need to be out selling. I always need to be out getting that sales pipeline. What's the next job? Where's my next job? For the, for winning contracts and those kinds of things, it's relentless. So I hope I'm not putting people off, but entrepreneurship is difficult.
That's the reality, right?
It's the reality.
Talk about that reality. And I know that youth is part of your DNA in terms of nurturing youth, right?
Correct.
And really bringing young people into business and starting businesses is something that is encouraged in South Africa throughout.
Yes.
What are your views? What is your perspective about young people or youth getting into business? How does the future look like for them?
So I think for me, I still remember when I voted for the referendum and for the political dispensation to change in this country. So I'm giving my age away. But what excites me about today's youth in this country is I get excited when I see young people kind of hanging out together. And they don't even see the color of the skin.
Absolutely.
That gives me a lot of hope, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to see that. And so for me, for the young people, just you are in a place now where expand your networks, get out of what comfort zones in terms of having, just really for me is like expand your networks. You will be surprised how willing people are to sit and to mentor you and to share their wisdom. Don't be afraid to ask, but be teachable, because I'm excited for you. You've got a lot of technology at your fingertips. You've grown up with technology. and you have it available. You've got a lot of the artificial intelligence. You've got all of your, your different resources. But what you will need to learn, maybe from a bit of people, maybe my generation, is wisdom and well, just discernment. I'd rather say discernment, because not everything you read, not everything you consume is necessarily the truth. You need to test things out that you read. Particularly when you get things via wherever it is, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, challenge them, question more. Does this make common sense? Read or listen to podcasts. Don't think that you know everything.
Absolutely.
So that would be my kind of advice and my challenge to young people. But what I'm loving seeing is that I'm seeing young people say, I often get people asking, please, would you mentor me? Advice. I get excited about that. And I get excited about the fact that there is a lot of opportunity. We are a young nation. We're a young continent. And that excites me. When I look at the rest of the world, Japan and their aging, Italy, will we still have Italy because they're just not having younger people coming through and that type of thing. We are in a very young and vibrant continent, and we've got so much opportunities. We've got so many resources. We need to learn the skills to lead, to harness, to make things happen, to do things for ourselves, to not rely so much on the rest of the world, but to actually start to learn those skills and to be hungry for that knowledge and hungry to do it ourselves.
I like that, because we are in a period where so many young people, so many young professionals, either once they qualify, they're thinking of relocating to another country, correct? Once they get their skills right, they want to relocate. Once they finish matric, they want to go and do or pursue their studies out of the country. So with that foundation, with that base that we just put, I'm hoping that the young people of South Africa will remain positive about this country, even though, yes, we have challenges.
Yes.
But it's still a beautiful country to
There's many challenges around the world, and I've seen lots of people move, and some are happy, some are missing our country, and it's not always greener the other side, and if it is, then the water bill is higher, right? So it's a little thing. But there's so much opportunity in our country, and you know what? That's the thing, is that actually challenges and problems are actually opportunities to make businesses. Look at what happened with the renewable energy program. We had load shedding, and we had huge amounts of investments into solar and wind, and we actually started to solve that. The next frontier now for us is water, for us to solve the water issues. These are the entrepreneurial opportunities.
Absolutely.
If you find a problem and solve it, that is actually an entrepreneurial opportunity. What we need, though, is the knowledge and the skills and the growth to learn those aspects. But we can,
So in terms of, I'm trying now just to advise someone who's saying, Annie, I've been running my business. It's quite difficult. You spoke about financial excellence, literacy, and all of that. But for me, it's extremely difficult. I'm thinking of closing my business and either go back to work. What would you say to that person where currently 2025, throughout the year, 6 months down the line now, people are going to start to question, are we growing or not? And the pressure of not growing starts to kick in on that business. What would you say to that person?
I would say that just go back and look at why you started this business. And do you have a purpose? Because if you just went into business only for making money, you probably will make money in corporate much quicker. But if you started this business because you had something that you wanted to solve, you had a longing to either solve a problem, bring a new product that has never been introduced here before, or do something that is that's going to last longer than you. Having a logo that will be on a building forever, or also then go back to why you started that business. If it's only purely just because you wanted to make money and make money quickly, then you probably are in the wrong.
It takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's also not going to always satisfy as well. I think for me, I've always been motivated more by the wanting to make a difference in the country and see people's lives change for the better, So that's what motivates me and why I'm still many years in this space, because I've seen the power of a life change when they are doing things for themselves, then they're making money and they've grown. So go back and check why you're doing things. And entrepreneurship is difficult. So as soon as you realize that, then it makes it easier, because it isn't easy.
For sure.
And I guess you need to just determine, is it worth my blood, sweat and tears? Because it will take that. And I just want to, kind of encourage you to also learn and fail forward. That's what entrepreneurship is about. Like you go through some things that didn't work well. Okay, how do I do better next time?
Talk about failing forward.
Correct.
What are some of the biggest gaps that you've picked up and that you feel that they cannot be solved by the SAICA ED only, but other institutions can play a role in facilitating some of the challenges, gaps that the business owners are facing, or government can play a role to expedite some of these challenges from your side?
I would say the biggest thing is paying entrepreneurs on time and not 90 days, paying quicker.
That's also private sector as well. I hope they're listening. Not 90 days. Private sector, yeah.
See, it's crazy. We talk this big game. We've got enterprise supplier development, and usually it's then under the whole BEE kind of ambit, and these things always get separated. But both government and also private sector, they need to pay entrepreneurs quicker. You, as a large entity, no problem. 90 days is nothing on you. But as smaller entities, you need to be paid quickly. And so I think it would be great to see both government and private sector be more supportive in terms of that, and so that's the biggest thing that they could change. I think the government is trying to do a lot to kind of cut some of the red tape for small businesses. So there's been, projects around that. But biggest thing for me is just pay quicker, 30 days.
And it makes sense, because without the cash flow, without the cash in the bank, there's no way able to run operations. Particularly when you're smaller, you've got less of a runway. And
that's why you do need to build up that, that you can build up that runway, but pay quickly.
Fantastic. All right. Annie, it's been good. I truly, truly appreciate the words of wisdom that you've shared. And I'm hoping that a number of people will take those nuggets and really implement on their businesses. And again, that was really the blueprint in terms of how do you scale up? What are the current challenges? What are the solutions that are there? And how do you get your house in order? And that's what we spoke about, is to say, get your house in order.
Become financially fit.
Become financially fit. But more than anything else, she spoke about very key points. Have your product. Once you've got your product, you have to be able to sell. So without those two, it becomes difficult to really grow your business. Ladies and gentlemen, Annie, I'm not sure if there's anything else from your side that you'd like to share, or how do people get hold of you, or the organization that you're leading?
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to. We're on all the social media platforms, but if you want to find us, we're on the SAICA website under SME initiatives, or you can go to the hopefactory.co.za, and then we've got various kind of socials, Facebook, LinkedIn. Thanks.
To the young people, that is a plug, by the way. As she said, they are everywhere in the country. So any assistance that you need in terms of business development, please apply to them. I'm sure they will respond. And as well, from our side, as the SAICA Biz Impact Podcast, we really wish you all the best. We hope that your business grows. As Annie said, we'll love to see some of the businesses becoming JSE-listed entities in South Africa. So please don't forget to ensure that at least you subscribe to our YouTube. Also, you can check our podcasts as well on the SAICA website. We're available as well on Spotify. So please share as much as you can. We're looking forward to see you on the next one.